I speak to you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Well, good morning. I hope everyone is doing well and adjusting to the chilly air. Maybe you're fighting a cold, but I still think it's a fun time of year. Fall is finally here. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and I hope you're enjoying it. I actually got home from the game yesterday, and my two youngest have already gotten a picture with Santa. So hold on, here we go. So today I want us to go back to the book of James, good old James. Now I'm going to give you a quick theological history lesson, and so don't let your eyes just go in the back of your head and glaze over. Really quickly, okay, James. A lot of people, the good Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther holding the fight, did not like James. He hated James. James is always talking about doing good works, right? Doing good works. And Martin Luther took it from Paul's letter to the Ephesians that we're saved by faith through grace, okay? So throughout the centuries, you have James and good works, and Martin Luther and Paul saved by faith through grace. And there's always been this tension, okay? So hold that tension, because I think James is actually going a little deeper than that. It's not just good works or faith. James is telling us that they're kind of intertwined. And if you notice, it has something to do with our own image. Our own image. See, we all have to check ourselves every once in a while, and I think that's what James is getting at. Checking ourselves. Look at our image and see if it matches with who we are. Listen to the James passage again. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and on going away immediately forget what they were like. Looking at ourselves in mirrors and then forgetting what we are like. Images. We all have our images of ourselves, don't we? Everybody has an image of themselves. I'm going to tell one little story about images. I do not own a nice pair of sunglasses. I do not own a nice pair of sunglasses. I don't even like to spend $10 for sunglasses. $3, $5 maybe, that's fine. I hate expensive sunglasses because when I was younger, I bought a pair and within a week, they broke. So I will not buy them. I'm not very much into fashion either, okay? That's one of the reasons I love wearing black clericals all the time. I know what I have to wear. So my wife is very nice, and this past summer, she bought me a couple of pairs of sunglasses, and so I just put them on, not thinking about it, and one day we went to the pool with some friends of ours, and we're doing the regular summer pool things, throwing the kids around. I'm talking to a buddy of mine, and we're talking, and he starts saying something like, so I really like the Ice Road Truckers. I was like, okay. We go on a little more. He's like, no, it's a really good show. You know, the reality show Ice Road Truckers. It's amazing what they can do. I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine. I guess it's an okay show and everything. And he goes on and he's like, no, but you know how they do this and they're on the road and it's really fascinating. And I don't know what's going on with this conversation. Then we get in the car after the day and go home. And I guess I took my sunglasses off. And I happened to notice on the side, it says, Ice Road Truckers. So this buddy of mine thought I loved Ice Road Truckers. That this was the best show ever, that I must have been a huge fan. I don't think I've even seen a full episode of it. Images. We all have our images of ourselves. Interesting. See, his image of me was that I was a huge Ice Truckers fan, and I don't do that again. But I say that because we act out of our perceived images all the time. We act out of our perceived images all the time. So my question is, what is your image of yourself? What is your image of yourself? All right, so did everybody see the funny picture? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? This super cute, happy baby, just delighting in his own image. What a great picture, right? Delighted, overjoyed, so happy with himself. See, I think maybe this is how God sees us. Maybe this is how God sees us. But are we able to see ourselves in the same way? Are we able to see it that way? See, it's not about looking in the mirror and just seeing all your faults. I think we all pretty much do that pretty well. We're good at that, seeing our faults. And yes, we're all broken, and I think everybody knows we're broken. That's sort of why we gather here together to be with one another during the hard, messy parts of life. But this is about looking in the mirror and seeing how special you are, how special God made you. But do you believe it, that you are a beloved child of God? See, when we have that image of ourselves, we can truly see our gifts and talents. Gifts and talents that were given to us by God. And then what James is telling us to do is to use those gifts and talents. Use them. We are the church. All of us. We are the church. We are all ministers finding God in ourselves and in each other. And so Paul's got a video. He put this together. And I appreciate it, Paul. It's very well done. It's a story about True Purpose Ministries. True Purpose Ministries. And that's a ministry that sees all of us as made in the image of God. All of us. Helping young men get their lives back on track. So here, take a look at the image of God.
The story really starts with my wife and I. Every morning we have coffee, or she has tea, and we read the paper together before going to work.
I saw this article about True Purpose Ministries, which is a men's ministry, and the article really moved me because it said that these men had to leave this property because of mainly neighbors who wanted them out.
It struck a chord, but, I had a busy day, had a lot to do, really. It was unfortunate. However, through the day, it kept just coming up in my mind, just kept coming up. And by the end of the day, I just felt I had to call Pastor Graham, who was in charge of this ministry, and just talk to him about it.
I had absolutely no idea what we were going to do. The things that we may have been looking at was to take all these guys to Carm, to Knox Area Rescue Missions.
We decided we would build an addition on our office for their meeting room and build them some housing. And the fact that all within a matter of a couple of weeks, including going back in front of the same planning commission that was at odds with them in the same county, at the other end of the county, and they unanimously approved to go forward. That was another moment. Knew something was happening. Next thing I realized is that, how am I going to build this in 90 days? I really, we have crews, but that would definitely tax us to accomplish that. So we decided we would just employ. So we moved everybody, gave them all a job, all the men at the ministry. And it was incredible to watch how they gravitated towards the opportunity. With that, we started teaching, disciplines, everything from flooring, tile, painting, roofing, just any of the carpentry. That grew into culinary arts. We were having to feed 45 people.
It's a hard job, and I'm speaking about the pastors, the counselors, and the young men that come through the doors that I get the privilege of meeting, and just to hear their stories, why they're there. It could be my son. It could be anybody's son who has just struggled. And to have these men there who just love them.
And now we can show these guys that when they come in, they are coming into an atmosphere of excellence. To be able to know that God has nothing but greatness destined for them.
I had a really rocky road prior to coming to True Purpose. I made a lot of decisions that you could say were less than par, that were disappointing to myself and to my family, but I was so focused on drugs that it didn't really matter.
Before I even found out about True Purpose, he was only going to have two options for me, and that was to pick out which field I wanted to drop him in, with a sleeping bag or take him to the rescue mission. That I was at that point.
I came in not knowing what to expect. I'd heard that you work. I'd heard this and that. And it was really crazy because I came in, everybody was really happy to see you, gave you hugs, told you they loved you. And at first you're kind of like, I don't know about all this, man.
He had to struggle through those things and is still struggling through all of those mistakes that were made.
You just want to rise up and be like, man, I don't have to be here. I deserve better than this. It's all about me. But if you can just die to yourself and realize, man, I screwed up. I do need to be here. This is the best for me. And you can really accept that. It makes the whole experience so much more enjoyable. Once you get that through your head, the rest is a breeze.
Hopefully they will find a true purpose, because that's been my and my son's saving grace.
We should always be receptive to help others, even if it's just the smallest gesture, like reading an article in a paper and then just taking it to somebody who you think might be able to help. Because just that small little action creates such a positive response and helps so many people.
The day driving around trying so hard to forget their problem. It wasn't my problem. It wasn't my cross to bear. It's overwhelming. It's been an interesting journey.
So that's what Gil and Penny found when they looked at themselves and saw the image of God. And I think Pastor Jeremy said it best. He wants them to know that God has nothing but greatness destined for them. God has nothing but greatness destined for them. I mean, the name True Purpose Ministries, it says it all, kind of, right? You see, I think in a world that is so busy with us all being about the image of others and so busy with deceiving our own images of ourselves, here's an instance of the image of God being reflected in the real world. This is where the rubber hits the road. Real people doing real ministry and really doing it all the time. It's about Christians looking at themselves and then looking at the world and seeing where we fit and then giving ourselves away. The world needs us. Just watch the news. The world needs us. The world needs you. So I invite you to look at yourself today. Take a deep look and see the special gifts that God has given you. Maybe laughing like that little fat baby on the cover of the bulletin. And then sharing what God has given you. I'm reminded of a saying that John has told me that Reggie McNeil said when he visited here years ago. He said, "Do you really think God had someone else in mind when he created you?" So today, take a look at yourself and smile. And then I wonder, what are you going to give away? Amen.